Well, that was just a lovely video. Always makes me excited and appreciative for all the local growers in our area. I would like to welcome Jan Tusek to this little gathering and invite her to share more about the food production center, as well as any things she wants to contribute about the Mission West Community Development Partners. So Jan, welcome, and thank you very much for sharing with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Hannah and Mindy, for this invitation. I appreciate it. I always have looked at Sanders County as this area that is a little untapped, but you have a Clark Fork River that runs through your valleys that probably has some of the most arable lands in the state. So when it comes to food production, you definitely have opportunities there. So just to take a step back and kind of give a little background, I don't want to confuse people, but Lake County Community Development recently, last year, changed our name to Mission West Community Development Partners. And Mission West Community Development Partners is Lake County Community Development. Basically, it's a DBA, but basically the board and some other people decided to have a better name that represented the communities that we work for. So we are a regional economic development organization, and most recently became an economic development district, which Sanders County is part of. And we'll get back to that later, because when you start talking about opportunities, that is an opportunity. So our division, Mission Mountain Food Enterprise Center, is one of the 8 food and ag centers for the state of Montana. So what does that mean? Since 2000, we've been designated as a food and ag center. And that means that we're charged with working with food and agricultural businesses in their development. And so we are very unique in that network, which we do work as a network with the other centers, is that we have a full-scale food processing facility, which you saw a few pictures of, how we can bring volume produce into our facility and process it. We also have the capacity for food businesses to come in and process their food products, package them, so then they can take them out to market. So our food processing facility has a lot of capacity. It has a meat room. We really have organized it in activity areas. So we have a meat room. We have a large kettle room where 2 large 100-gallon kettles sit in. We have another small kettle room where 2 small 40-gallon kettles sit in, plus 4 convection ovens. We have a dry fill room. We have a packaging room. And of course, the harvest wash area is what you saw in that video, is where we chop, dice, and process butternut squash, cherries, carrots, potatoes, green beans, broccoli. You can do anything. If the producers grow it, we can process it. So that's just kind of I want to have you have a kind of a sense of the lay of the land of what we do in Mission West and the resources that we have there. But I was asked pretty specifically to talk to local food economy. And this is something that we strongly believe in and have been for the last 20 years. This area of food economy, some people call it local food system development. I prefer to call it local food economy development, because I really believe that you can develop an economic chain from the grower to the end market. And that chain has a tendency to be a value chain versus what you see in typical business development. And I'll give a great example. The Western Montana Growers Co-op is a cooperative of about now 50 members. They're producer growers. Some of them are meat producers, so they're pretty diverse. So being part of the West Montana Growers and being part of that role that they play is aggregation and marketing, they get 78 cents to the dollar that they sell. Think about that, 78 cents. The typical sale of produce or a ag product is 1 cent to 17 cents. So when I say value chain, I am talking about bringing the value back to the growers, those food processors that are integral to that value chain, and how the negotiation along that chain is a negotiation. It's not, this is what you get. So we are trying to change the definition of, you know, the purchase at the farm gate is a value purchase versus this is what you get, is what the commodity marketplace is. And you all, I'm sure, understand that marketplace. You see the commodity prices, they are what they are, you take it or leave it. So I think local food economy is really looking at, and it is how we build resiliency in our agriculture, is looking at the value chain that we can develop, that really every step of that chain has a value and needs to be valued and needs to be supported and protected. So when we do farm to school, and when we negotiate with the growers co-op in a product sale, it isn't, this is what you get. It's, what do you need? And then the next step is to that marketplace. And again, that negotiation. What do you need? What are the price points you can develop along that chain that work for every party? So then you try, that is, in my mind, building sustainability along that chain. So the Growers Co-op is a classic example of a cooperative, is a key tool in this kind of development. And just recently, we expanded that role into a regional approach with cooperatives. So we have now formed, when I say we, it's not Mission West, it's 3 cooperatives that come together and form the Northwest Regional Food Hub Network. So now we're looking at cooperatives working to cooperative that all support small farmers and all want to get that 78 cents a dollar back to their growers. So it's a real important way of looking at how to do business. And I know there are other business models out there that have looked at developing their business chain as a value chain. But I do think when I was asked, you know, about local food resiliency, I think in the very beginning, the people who come together to build those value chains form that communication, those relationships, so that they do have the ability to work with one another and make those decisions together. And this is the uniqueness of this Northwest Regional Food Hub partnership, is there's strong relationships at the table. So those relationships are ones that work together to determine what is the best way to do business together. So I think that's one way of looking at how to build resiliency within an area. But I do want to take a step back, because I was asked to say, well, what are the things that we did that built community around local food and local food production? And I think that the best tool that we used to do that was doing a community assessment. And I think it's really important, if a community is coming together and they're wanting to look at local food economy as a tool to bring community members together and build a value chain within that community, you have to really deeply understand what you have or what you don't have. And I really stress what you have Because many times when you bring a community together, all of a sudden you have, we don't have this, we don't have this, we can't do this, we're without this. It's all the negative, negative, negative. What's really important is that you do the positives. So this, we use a model that the Alternative Energy Resource Organization developed, and there's a whole facilitation tool that I can share with your community. And it's called the Local Food System Development Facilitation Toolbook. And we called it the Berkshire Twist because it came from Berkshire, Massachusetts. But what is so important is it brings community members together. And the first thing you do is you say, what do we have? What assets do we have? So you're really doing an asset banking, and you're determining those great things that you have within the community. And from that platform, you look over and say, what do we want to develop? So it's not that what do we need, it's what do we want to develop to leverage those assets. And you'll be amazed at what comes out in that community assessment. We did this assessment way back in 2000 when we first started looking at how does a group of growers, small scale growers, work with an economic development organization. And Lake County Community Development was the economic development organization within the Mission Valley. So the group of growers went to Lake County Community Development and said, we want you to help us. And Lake County, that's their charge. You have an economic development organization, that's their charge. You have an extension office in your community, and they're there to help you. So they help facilitate. They brought in facilitators, and a community assessment was done. And from that community assessment, there were key priorities determined. And once you determine that, those arrows of direction, you'd be amazed at how the ball gets rolling. Because we had key, I can go back to that document 20 years ago and point to those arrows and say, we moved that arrow. We went from that directive to this point is where we are now. So that arrow said, we want more resources for local food and agriculture. We became a food and ag center. We want processing infrastructure for our local growers. Mission Mountain Food Enterprise Center was developed. But it could never have happened without that community assessment, because what it did, it brought the voice of the community to the table. And that's very powerful, because what you do is you leverage that voice. And believe me, there are opportunities for leverage. When you say farm to school, when you look at just core infrastructure you want to develop within your community, then you look up at the different resources that are out there to make that happen. And that's where Mission West can be an incredible partner. We are, I won't say Mission West is, Sanders County is part of an EDA district. EDA is a federal agency that has funding sources to help communities achieve their goals. So those are the tools that Mission West can bring to the table. We can bring resources from the EDA, I'll say pot, to help whether facilitate, whether to plan. I mean, right now there's a tourism group in our EDA district that is involving Sanders County and Mineral County and Lake County. And so the tourism group has determined they want to do a planning project. EDA has planning dollars to support that. And in that, they'll support staff to help move that forward, that project forward. So that's just one example of what an EDA district can do for the region. And I'm actually part of that tourism group. And of course, surprise, I'm saying agritourism. How do we do more agritourism? Because it's an economic opportunity for our farmers. So that's just how, I see through assessment, by identifying your goals of a community to move a local food economy forward, in which it might be farm to school, it might be agritourism. All those are the pieces of food economy, because it circles around your food and your local food supply. So I think in that light, there's some things that Mission West can really bring to the table that can be very, very helpful. And I'm going to look right here to see if I missed anything. I'm going to go a little bit more in our services, but I want to make sure I didn't. The questions that were asked of me were very broad. So I'm very open to any questions. I see there's stuff in chat, but I do want to make sure doing business as. Okay, that got answered. So I want to make sure that we capture these questions that might percolate up. But you know, right before we talk about Mission West resources, I want to talk a little bit about Sanders County's resources. There's not a lot of counties that have not only an economic development organization in their county, but they have an extension office. And those two work really closely together. And I know they're both involved in the tourism project, but these are really important resources to be involved in any steps that this group might come together to take, because they have resources and they can really help in moving the needle as whatever might be determined that this listening group might want to do. So in the area of local food, I know they're both extremely interested, and of course Extension has a lot of resources when you go to the whole Extension network and MSU Extension. So those are things that I think, don't forget what's right in your backyard. And when if you move forward in an assessment, those are two key assessments that you have, key assets that you have within your community to help you. I also know you have some pretty good farmers in your community. Paradise Gardens is in Sanders County. They do a pretty large scale. We process their squash. So they're making squash, and they've processed squash. It's all ready to go if anyone's interested in talking to your local schools. So know that's a Sanders County grower. Another thing that Sanders County has is that, and we're working to expand more into Sanders County, but Hot Springs was a site for our food box program. Our food box program is part of a statewide initiative called Local Food for Local Families. And so the initiative is committed to getting local food to people who need food access. So we do know the food banks are present in Hot Springs and I believe Thompson Falls. What we do is work with those sites. We are working with the Camas store in getting these food boxes to people who need food access. We shifted the program a bit this September, and are starting to do a SNAP program and a double SNAP program. So people who want a box of local food who are on SNAP, which is the food stamp program, we will match the cost of that food box with double SNAP in the project that we're doing. So we're really eager to see who else we could partner with this program. We're working to get the capacity at the Camas store or a site in Hot Springs that can really help us with that box distribution and that box ordering. So if anyone on this call is in Hot Springs, be really interested in hearing whether whether it's volunteer, whether they could do it on stipend. We're really eager to learn what might be able to be put in place so we can continue delivering food boxes to Hot Springs. And then Thompson Falls, if this is of interest, we're all ears because we are looking to expand the food box program. They're doing a fundraising drive this December into January to raise more funds for boxes that are free to people. And these are amazing boxes. I'm just going to describe a box to you. Fresh eggs, local eggs, gallon of milk, fresh seasonal vegetables. Right now we see squash, we see apples, we see, of course, chard or kale. Cheese, Lifeline cheese is in the box. And onions are in the box, and potatoes. I just looked through our cooler this weekend to see what had come in for this week's boxes. So, I mean, they're just wonderful boxes, and we've got great feedback from them. So what does that look like in collaboration with Mission West? Or there's some inroads here that we can help stimulate the interest in local food and be part of that food box program? Or can we help with a local food assessment? You know, these might be some things that we can help because of our experience and connections in that area. And we can help identify resources that can make it happen. I'm looking at some questions here. I just let me real quick go through other resources. Mission West has a cooperative development center. So if you know of anyone who is looking to form a cooperative to address these needs, our cooperative development staff will work one-on-one with them to help make that happen. We also have a loan program. Sanders County has a loan program for any food businesses or businesses that you know need assistance. And then, of course, you know, the Food and Ag Center. You know, we're charged to work with food and ag businesses. That's our mission. So however our center can help facilitate or, you know, help something move forward. So I'm going to go ahead and pop over to some of the questions. How would a small group of growers get started? Would the initial meeting be with you or at Sanders County CDC or Extension Office? I'd say all three. And a small group of growers needs to come together and really determine, you know, how they want to work together, how they want to organize themselves. I mean, it's those really important conversations you need to have. Do you want to form a cooperative, or do you just want to be an association of growers? How do you want to do decisions? I mean, that to me is the first thing when I walk in a group of people, say, how are we going to make decisions here? Is it Robert's Rule of Order? Is it consensus? How do we want to move forward? Because once you make that, you formalize your decision making. So I know every person in this room right now has gone to meetings that you do a lot of talking and you walk out of the room and you go, did we decide anything? Did we formally decide anything? So I see Julie's on. So Julie is your extension agent. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Jen.
How you doing?
I'm good. It's so nice to see you.
Yeah. So anyway, all three. I mean, I'm more than happy to come over and sit down with a group of growers, but I know Sanders County would be too, and so would Julie. So, you know, I think all three should be in the room because there's your resource banks. And you need resource banks to move ideas forward. So that's how I would approach that. Oh, good. Trout Creek and Noxon have food banks. That's fantastic. Let's talk a little more about that. Did the community assessment identify local growers or those interested in being local growers? There were local growers involved in the community assessment. And I'll just kind of give you a few outcomes of that assessment. Those local growers came together and decided that they're going to do a kind of some survey work to identify the interest level to form a cooperative. And so they did that work, and the person who's the lead in that, and I don't know if anyone on this call remember Jane Kyle. She was a Sanders County resident, longtime grower, had a CSA, did amazing work right there in Dixon. She took the lead in that, and she really developed some great relationships with growers, not just in Mission Valley, but in areas of Sanders, up in Kalispell area. She went to the Bitterroot. She inquired with a lot of growers to say, are you interested in doing a cooperative? If you are, let's come together and really talk about it. So they got that core group together and started really formalizing their discussion and making decisions. What eventually happened is they applied for USDA Community Food System grant and got it, that helped that cooperative form. So that's just an example of a group coming together With resources, Mission West supported Jane's time to pull growers together to make an action step to start bringing more resources to the table to organize that cooperative. So that's the important piece here. Those growers need to organize themselves and be able to articulate the direction they want to go. Then you look up and you go, who can help us with this? What funding can help us with this? What organization can help us with this? That's how the path starts moving. So this group of growers wants to come together and really start doing some formalizing of how they're going to work together. We're more than happy to help with that. More information on food banks. Plains has a food bank. That's how they got the brewery in Ronan through the cooperative program. That's absolutely right. Ronan's the first cooperative brewery in the state of Montana, and they work with a cooperative development program to help make that happen. Am I missing anything here? How could this fit into any farmers markets? Well, I know I had a conversation not too long ago, it was a couple months ago, with Sanders County. There's two programs that are available to farmers markets. The most important one is the Farmers Market Promotion Grant, which will help support developing farmers market. And I think Sanders County, if this farmers market is in Sanders County, or there's a group of farmers market, there's several that could work together, it would be a really great application to that program. Another program that's coming up right now is Farm to School. So if you do have a school district that is interested in getting local food into their schools, one of the most important things that they can do is partner with some local growers and help build that capacity to make that happen. One thing that is no longer available is the Farm to School Vista program. Unfortunately, that program has been discontinued in the state of Montana, but the Department of Health and Human Services has a Vista program right now that is placing vistas. They're trying to place vistas with schools, and they extended that application period because I think there's been a lot of turnover in AmeriCorps, and so they didn't get a lot of applications. So those are two opportunities right now that if a group of people wanted to work with a local school district and work with their local growers to do a small farm to school project, this could be an opportunity to put a farm to school grant in and talk to the Department of Health and Human Services about getting a Vista volunteer, because that's a critical piece in farm to school. You cannot expect those the hardworking food service people at the schools to manage a farm to school program. They don't have time. You need a coordinator. You need a Vista volunteer. You need someone to help with that, because those people already work hard enough without putting something else on their plates. So these are things that just, in this short little conversation that I know are opportunities for a group of people who want to come together and make something happen around local food in Sanders County. So with that, I think I would like to take more questions. The new Heron store wants to offer local Montana dairy products, milk, cream, etc. How can Mission West help them do that? I think the first step that I would suggest is that I know Western Montana Growers Co-op, I believe, they go to Hot Springs, and I think they go to Thompson Falls, or Link Foods from Spokane. So the Northwest Regional Food Hub Partnership might be able to help with that, if not just West Montana Growers Co-op. But we can connect a conversation with the store and them to see what can be put into place. I'd be happy to do that. The next one is, I'm the manager of the Trout Creek Farmers Market. My problem is that we don't have enough vendors for customers. Most vendors sell out in 15, 20 minutes. Wow. So it sounds like, I'm trying to wonder what the problem is. If your vendors are selling everything they got, they should be very happy. Am I right there? But if you're trying to grow the sustainability of the market, Maybe there's an opportunity to partner with other farmers markets as in share. I mean, we're looking at St. Ignatius and Ronan sharing a farmers market master, because that's kind of the biggest cost to farmers market is having someone manage the farmers market without just having to volunteer all their time. So I don't know if this market has a volunteer manager or if they're looking for a way to build the capacity. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I've asked her to unmute a few times. You could unmute yourself, Kathy. It would be great to have this conversation because this would, this is why we're here in part. But these are great ideas. I'm also looking for more products. They paid me the big bucks. She is a full volunteer. I happen to
She's
know.
a full volunteer. And most farmers markets really struggle with that because that's all they can do. So to build the capacity of the farmers market, I mean, the first thing, I mean, you got to get more vendors. And that way it brings more sustainability to the farmers market. And to bring more vendors, it's called an advertising campaign or a market campaign. How do people know about you? And so the farmers market program, I mean, these are things, that's just one grant program that can help do a market campaign. Because Trout Creek, your nearest population points are having to draw people down 200. So you want to think about that, how you draw people down 200. And most people that I know, and I even go beyond people who are foodies, when they travel, they look for farmers markets. So how do people learn where you are and how they get there? And how do you attract people to put you're on their map then when they're traveling 200? How do you partner with Glacier Tourism program that you get on their map? And then you get people aware of this market. So it's kind of the chicken and egg with small farmers markets. And it can feel like a slow boat, but it is that thing that you're just doing those baby steps to build your capacity, attract those vendors, attract that passing traffic. I don't know where you're located. You right on the road on 200 or you up into a side road?
We're right on 200. I don't know if you can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. We're right on 200. We're not visible from 200, but we have signs on the road. We're at the Huckleberry Festival Park.
Okay.
If that, you know where that is.
Yeah.
Facebook has been my best advertisement so far. I usually have, well, at the end of last year, I had 6,000 click-throughs for my ads on Facebook, which blows me away. We have posters everywhere. We have ad in the newspaper every week. The motels have been really good, though, and the campgrounds, they let us know. They tell their customers that we're there.
Yeah, I think, you know, what a really challenge. I mean, part of me's going, what's the problem? You're selling out. But I see what the problem is. You want more vendors. So it is kind of a different outreach strategy. I mean, it sounds like you're getting the customers. You need more vendors.
Absolutely. I have 5 people that are very regular, but they can sell out in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And people go away empty-handed, and as a result, they don't come back because you know, they can't get there in time to get stuff. So I definitely need more vendors.
So how about the farmers market become its own vendor and you set up a farmers market store that you bring in the Montana products and you display them and sell them? It's almost like a retail front, so people don't go away empty-handed.
That's an interesting.
And it just complements the other stuff that is there. So you do your own store. Because I think the one thing you're going to face as a challenge for vendors is Trout Creek is a long ways to go to set up a stand.
Absolutely.
But if you bring the stand, if you create the stand, it is literally just something that you can bring that thread of sustainability into that market. And then as you work to bring more vendors on, because once vendors here, they'll sell out in 15 minutes. They're like, holy cow, I got to get there.
Yeah.
I got a lot of product to sell. But I mean, I would be looking at how you do your own thing, or how the
Mhm.
farmer's market does its own thing and complements the vendors that are there. There's a lot of Montana products out there that can fill a stand.
That's very interesting. Yes.
And then the people who come in are those people. They see a flag and a sign. They want to experience these farmers market. It's a proven fact. Tourists coming through want to go to farmers market, period.
Absolutely. I saw
200 is a major tourist conduit to Glacier Park.
Yes.
So those two things, you want to think about how you sell more product. And your vendors will just benefit from that.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Jan, this is Julie. I have a question for you.
Sure.
I would love it if you wouldn't mind sharing the assessment that you guys did with me so I could get a better idea of what's all entailed in that. And
Yeah,
maybe we
I will
could
be
get that
happy
going.
to. I have an electronic copy of the facilitation toolbook, and it
Okay.
was so well put together. It literally tells you how many easels to put in the room. I mean, it is that detailed.
Okay.
But it is a wonderful tool for a community assessment, and it can be done with numerous aspects of community assessment. We used it for local food economy development, but it can be used numerous ways. So I'd be happy to send that to you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And if our farmers were interested in discussing the development of a co-op, I know a lot of them, around Dixon are already a part of the Western Montana Growers Co-op. Would they want to be part of two co-ops, or what do you think? Would they be open to something like that, do you think?
Well, I don't know. I think that would be a really important conversation with the group because, the growers co-op have a lot of capacity. The West Montana growers have developed a lot of capacity. So I would look at too, how can that help this group of growers? What are some things that they can, help them address if they want to do right at their local level? If that's what they're looking for. Again, not hearing from the producers. I'm not really clear on what's the end game here. What is really the pathway they want to lay?
Okay. And just for the group's information, we have had some of these initial conversations in the past, and we've talked to a few of the schools about doing some farm to school programs. But as Jan said, you really need to have that champion or that volunteer in that community per se, because that's the biggest pushback that we've gotten from the schools is they just don't have time to figure it out. And so, we haven't given up by any means, but it's going to take a little bit of effort or just advertising or finding that right person in that community.
And the farm to school grant is out right now. And these are not real, this is a pretty friendly grant application through the USDA Marketing Service Division. And I think what is really, I would say, would be pretty interesting is that they want to look at communities that have been impacted. And you guys have some impacts that have happened, mineral particularly, but I know it's trickled over to Sanders in the closure of that lumber plant. It also, Sanders County has quite a few census tracts that meet low food access, through USDA's eyes. So these are things that you can point to in that kind of grant application to say, hey, we want to be able to serve our local school or schools, whatever it is, if it's a plural, and that, we're a community that is underserved and is in need of resources, and you have the data to prove it. So I would say I'd be looking at that. If this group of people, Julie, want to come together, I'd be happy to, be part of those conversations. I've written that grant before. but they really do want to help communities that have been underserved or have food access needs. And definitely schools that have the reduced lunch program, which I'm sure Sanders does.
Thank you.
I believe every one of our schools has free and reduced lunch programs. I don't, most of them have, all of it is free lunches, because so many, the percentage of free and reduced is so high that it's just easier just to be able to, and legal for them to say everybody gets free lunch and breakfast.
Right. I think that's become a statewide during this COVID. I recently heard that they have moved to offer every student a free lunch if they want one. Because of the impact of COVID and the food, families have been so impacted with food and food access.
I'd like to encourage Julie for you to put in your email contact into the chat, please.
Sure.
And that would be really helpful so that people can get in touch with you directly. And then at some point, Jan, if you could also do that.
Sure.
And also maybe Hannah. So that will start, and everybody got this email from Sanders County Dems email, so they should have that available to them. But, you know, this has been incredibly lively, and I know that there's several people who would like to continue the conversation. So,
One thing I'd like to just add, I want to answer Hannah's question. You can get planning grants, the local food program. Yeah. So I think that's really a great opportunity if anyone wants to move something forward, if a group comes together.
Well, this has just been absolutely fabulous. Thank you so very much, Jan, for the great insights and showing us the direction and a map forward. I'm super excited. Like, I'm more than willing to sign up and say, hey, I'll help put together a grant to like get a volunteer or somebody to go around and connect with the schools. Like, just because I believe in it so much and find it to be so important. So, but I just definitely want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your day to get together and to explore some opportunities to bring community together. Food is such a wonderful one. And Jan, thank you so very much for being willing to step forward and do this at such short notice. And so much gratitude for you and what you do. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Hannah. And I am a guilty one. And I will say it, I kept getting these things from the Democratic Party and I was like, I can't go there right now. You know, I mean, I didn't want to have any, I've been really kind of tender on political issues. And so I was just ignoring them. And then she showed up in my office. I went, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to ignore you.
It's all good. It's all
Yeah.
good. Yeah. So appreciative. And so I put my email in there just to encourage everybody or anybody interested in continuing this conversation. Please send me your contact information. And yeah, let's see where this can go and get something to blossom and fruit for 2022.
So Hannah, I would be interested in remaining in the loop for these future conversations, because again, Mission West is an economic development district, or this region is, and I think it's going to be really important to listen to hear what other things are percolating in the region, and I can share that with the co-staff that work in that area.
Fabulous. That's just so great. Mindy, I'll hand it back to you. And
okay, so I'll close this up. We wanted to keep this to an hour and keep people's interest peaked. Again, Sanders County is trying to break out, Jan, of this political divide that we seem to find ourselves in, and we're trying to overcome it. It seems imposed on us from top down, and instead we here in Sanders County need to find ways to connect. This is a place that we all love, and it truly does connect us all. So that being said, the topic, the details haven't been ironed out, so I won't even be the spoiler about that. But the next What Unites Us series will be on the second Sunday of January. I believe that's the 9th, and it will be from 4 to 5. And you can learn more from any of those emails that got sent out into the chat, or you could reply to Sanders County Dems, sanderscodems@gmail.com. And we're really excited to change the dialogue here and unite us all. So thank you so much, Jan, for being with us.
You're
Thank you.
more than welcome. I appreciate it. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, it's great for us, and how exciting. Lots of ideas. So, and thanks, Julie, for coming on. You're a key part of this, and Kathy, and actually everybody who jumped on has various different roles that they're playing here. So let's spread the word, and thanks for everybody's energy.
Thanks, Mindy.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Have a good evening. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Oh, Merry Christmas to you all.